Okay, so we'll start off the webinar. Everybody is very welcome, and we hope this is the first of many webinars to come. The idea is Genspect and Beyond Transition are going to hold webinars, a series of psychoeducational webinars where we can help people to live beyond transition. So maybe you've medically transitioned, or maybe you have detransitioned, maybe you haven't, but certainly you're thinking, how do I handle life beyond transition? And there are challenges, there often are. And so Helena came up with this fantabulous idea. So I let Helena lead the way. Make sure to put any questions you might have in the chat. And this will be recorded, so you'll be able to watch it again later on in the future on the Genspect YouTube, just so you know. So yeah, take it away. I'm going to mute myself, thankfully. And I'm going to take my video off and leave it up to you, Helena. Thanks.
Awesome. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Helena. Welcome to this webinar. I am here with Jeannine Wright, the owner of Embellishments Hair Restoration Studio. We're going to be talking today about all things related to hair loss from a more, holistic and health-based perspective. Before we get started, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell them a little bit about what you do.
My name is Jeannine Wright. I am a trichologist. Trichology has to do with the science of hair and scalp. And I'm also a holistic healthcare practitioner, board certified. I decided to become board certified holistic health practitioner because the clients that come in here to get look into hair loss and things like that, it's an inside out thing. So I decided that I would better be able to serve my clients if I utilize the modality of holistic health.
Awesome. And that's one of the things I love about her. I completely agree that a lot of these things that we see as being cosmetic, especially related to transition and hormones and stuff like that, it's really has to do with the health of the inside of our body. So I believe that we can achieve a lot of great things if we give our body what it needs and treat ourselves well.
Exactly.
Yeah. So let's just start from the basics, maybe.
Okay.
We're today talking about women who have taken testosterone,
yes,
external testosterone, high levels to achieve a more male range of testosterone. How might that result in hair loss for a woman?
Okay, well, typically when you introduce when you introduce testosterone to a female sex body that has predominantly more estrogen, what can occur is a process called virilization, where you start to take on more male attributes such as excess hair in places maybe where you might not want it, or hair thinning and hair loss, because you start to, because of the excess testosterone, you then wind up producing a byproduct of that called DHT, which attacks the follicle, which creates hair loss. And causes a whole lot of other things to go on. It can cause skin issues as well, so far as acne. And it can create a little bit of aggression. So you might feel a little antsy, a little agitated, more than typical or usual.
Only a little.
Yeah. A little. So it can create some of these things. But it definitely, the introduction of testosterone definitely can put you in the place of losing hair, especially if you have a genetic predisposition to lose hair.
Right.
Because some women will typically, their hair may thin and they may not lose as much hair. But if you then add testosterone to the mix, a high level of testosterone, it can accelerate this process.
It's kind of like menopause, but like a turbocharged menopause.
Yes, it is. Yes,
so
it is.
That gets me to something that we were talking about right before we started. A lot of women probably think that because they took the testosterone, that their hair loss is the same as a man's male hair loss. How is a woman's hair loss, even in the presence of testosterone, different from a man's hair loss?
Well, typically, women, when they lose hair, a lot of times they have what's called diffuse hair loss. So as women age, they never really see hair all over the place. They'll go through the different phases and stages of hair loss, but and hair growth and regeneration. But what will happen is that the follicle will shrink for women. And then for men, they just start to lose hair. So they'll see an axis of hair. Men will. Women will see a thinning of hair. So they'll say, well, you know, what's going on? I don't feel like I have as much hair, but I never saw any hair fall out. So that is because their follicle miniaturizes and gets smaller. And so this makes women not great candidates for hair loss surgery. They're not typically the best candidates for that. Men are, because they have other hairs that they can extract maybe from the back of the head, and then they can place it in the front. But still, even though you get this surgery with the men, they still have to maintain that with a topical. They have to maintain it with laser therapy. Those services have to be maintained regularly in order to keep that hair in the scalp, and also to keep the DHT from attacking if that should be the issue as to why. Because people talk about DHT, it is not always the issue with hair loss. I mean, hair loss can be caused by inflammation and all kinds of other things. But with women, because we get the thinning of the actual hair strand because of the shrinkage of the follicle, the one thing that helps with women is typically laser therapy. That's an alternative therapy that actually helps to improve the actual follicle itself on a cellular level. And then also things like diet and regulating female hormones.
Right. So would you say that even for women who, like, they take the testosterone and they have not the diffuse hair loss, but the actual hair loss that falls out,
Mm-hmm.
balding in some spots of their hair, would you say that they still are going to be more likely to have that problem of the thinning follicles?
They probably would more than likely have the thinning follicles. But if they stopped taking the testosterone and then they went through, as soon as they notice that the hair is starting to fall out and they want that hair back, they're going to need to do some type of service like laser therapy in combination with another type of like stem cell service, something that's aggressive, stem cell service, something like that to get that hair coming back in.
Right.
Yeah.
Would you say that you can help your body to regrow hair without that if you're focusing on rebalancing the hormones?
Absolutely. You can. That hair can come back in if you focus on rebalancing the hormones in addition to working with diet, because then you're going to have nutrition. Yeah, diet and nutrition, because you're going to have to support your thyroid. You're going to have to support the pancreas and things like that. That's going to, because the body operates on insulin, which is a hormone in itself.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to work with the body that way.
And that's something that I think a lot of people might underestimate, is how much the testosterone can then unbalance other hormones in the body, not just the estrogen and the progesterone, but also the thyroid hormone. It can cause insulin resistance.
Yes.
All of that stuff.
Yes.
So would you say that it's important to, balance the sex hormones, but also, investigate, see if there's a thyroid issue,
yes,
see if there's insulin resistance?
Absolutely. It's really important because you wind up getting yourself in a situation where you create not just an endocrine, but you create a metabolic issue.
Right.
And so metabolically, everything's off.
Yeah.
So nutrition, diet, health foundations are real important. So far as making sure that you have everything you need, making sure that you manage and monitor stress levels, all of that, because the cortisol levels get high and get out. You're dealing with your adrenals and everything.
Right. So what you would probably say is that if a woman is struggling with this, go and, see if you can talk to a healthcare practitioner, get some labs done on your thyroid, on your metabolic health, work on that. And then if they're not seeing benefits with their hair, once they improve those metrics, then they can look to things like the stem cells.
Yes. And those are you can get the plant-based stem cells, which work really nicely. Usually, typically, when you do those services, you might have to go through one round, maybe two, maybe maximum three. 3 rounds would be for somebody that's really suffered a great deal of thinning and loss. to get that hair to come back. But that, in addition to making sure that you're up on top of your vitamin D, D3, K2, and making sure that you're balancing out your iron supplementation, things like that, because the body needs these things to build up cells and to keep the body healthy. And vitamin D is surprising. I mean, it's amazing how many things need the vitamin D.
Right.
And with the weather being like it is, we've been being inside a lot. We don't get hardly any of it. But
especially for women with darker skin.
yes, oh, absolutely. I mean, and not only that, the other thing, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think you and I were talking about a issue known as CCCA, which is a type of hair loss. It's an inflammatory hair loss that women of color encounter because of wigs that they've worn, or constantly keeping their hair in braids, or even not shampooing the hair as regularly as the hair needs to be shampooed. But it's definitely from it's inflammation, and that can cause male pattern hair loss. And because of the scarring, if you're not on top of it, it can become permanent. Mm-hmm. So that's something that, you got to be mindful of too, because as soon as you start to get the itching and the inflammation in the top of the head, it always appears really typically in the top of the head, coming down towards the front. Yeah. And you wind up losing that hair. And a lot of times, and we've got this in women who aren't even doing anything where their hormones are concerned. It is because of the nature of the styling and maintenance of the hair.
And that's important for women of color to know, because they might be really self-conscious about their hair loss from the testosterone. So they start to lean on things like wigs or, really harsh hairstyles.
Right,
like that. And it's probably
makes it worse.
Yeah, dangerous.
Yes. So you have to be really aggressive when dealing with that particular type of hair loss. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So definitely, if someone is experiencing that, they should go to someone who understands the hair needs of women of color.
Right. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Get to a dermatologist to get diagnosed, and then a trichologist.
Yeah, a trichologist. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so important. So back to the nutrition side of this, because I think there's so much confusing information out there about nutrition. A lot of just people being confused, not really knowing. What would you say are the most important things to focus on in the diet for someone who has hormonal issues?
Well, first of all, you want to make sure that you are not eating things that are going to exacerbate any type of hyperhormone reaction, because like, for instance, a lot of people will say, well, I'm like dealing with the PCOS. That
which we'll talk about more.
Yeah, which that particular issue has a lot to do with an imbalance of the body's ability to manage insulin.
Yeah.
So typically, anything that's refined is the problem. You want to eliminate all refined foods, fake foods, foods that are not whole in nature. So if you're going to, and you don't want to eat the same thing all the time, you want to, as people would say, eat from the rainbow, but you want to make sure that you're eating things that are holistic, that are whole in nature, and so you want to leave alone the chips and the sodas and the sugary things and the junk. And it's not good to, and you want to make sure that you're eating balance for your body, because if you are someone who, some people, you have to manage you have to manage your insulin levels, because some people will eat at one point of the day, and then you'll get somebody else that's like, well, I'm not really hardly ever hungry. But then some people, because they don't eat like they should, they're ready to pass out because their sugar levels drop and different things like that. Yeah. And so you have to be aware of those type of things, to make sure that you're nourishing yourself appropriately. Yeah. Because when you don't, you get these up and down crashes, which also creates a lot of problems so far as the way your hormone, the way your body, your endocrine system reacts to just your your everyday everything. I mean, some people feel really good when they start their eating right and they're like, I feel great. And then they get an off day or a couple of off days and they feel like crap. And it's because they haven't had enough. They haven't nourished themselves enough. They don't have a balance of nutrients and minerals. So you've got to make sure that you're eating things that are whole food in nature. None of the fake stuff.
A way that I like to look at this as someone who has struggled with restrictive eating and problems with just psychologically with eating is focus on nutrient density.
Yes.
If the idea of restricting yourself and cutting out food groups is a problem, a way that I look at it is I look for the foods that are the most nourishing to my body. So when I'm choosing between this food and that food, I don't think, oh, that food is bad. No. I think this food is good.
Right.
And so
exactly, it's true.
And so I've learned so much about nutrition and what nutrients are in what foods, and there really are very powerful, nutritious foods that are genuinely going to feed your body and make your body stronger, healthier, more balanced, and that is beautiful. And so focusing on that is so important, as opposed to if thinking about cutting things out or restricting yourself is a problem.
Yeah, and the thing is that especially being a holistic healthcare practitioner, I always talk to my clients about nutrition, how important it is to get the best quality foods, because I always tell them, I said, look, you got that car outside, driving that nice car, and you would never dream of putting the wrong gasoline in that car. They would never dream of it, but they'll put the wrong things or things that don't serve their highest good into their bodies. So it's not like you can't have a piece of cake every now and then, but you surely can make cake where it actually is better. It's better from a nutritional density standpoint than like the typical yucky stuff, that doesn't serve you. But that is the most important thing, is making sure that you deal with your health foundations, because a lot of times, you got somebody, they might be eating okay, but they don't get any sleep. They get no sleep. They don't drink enough water. They don't manage their stress properly. They don't, they don't deal with their inner sense of being very well. And these things are all important. And it's a whole package of how you deal with yourself and work with yourself, because positive affirmation helps, when you do your affirmations and tell yourself, preset your day by doing your affirmations. And when you do that, it really changes the way how everything goes. When you start to visualize, you do visualization, you see yourself where you want to be. That gets you to where you actually want to be, because once you see it, it is. And so it makes a big difference.
Or people might have like an undiagnosed issue, like, for example, hypothyroid.
Yes.
I myself have hypothyroid. And I know that before I was diagnosed with that, I thought it was a lot of mental health problems, like extreme fatigue.
Yes.
But then I got my thyroid levels checked.
Yes.
And it turns out I just wasn't making enough thyroid.
Yes.
Okay, that's good stuff. In terms of the nutrient density, what would you say are some powerful foods that people can focus on?
My goodness. Well, so far as getting in your omega fatty acids, you can get your salmon in. Salmon is really good. Another thing that's really good is flaxseed. Brown flaxseed is really good. You can put that into your smoothies. That is really good. That helps. You want to get your iron-dense foods. Believe it or not, onions are high in iron. They are.
So is meat.
Yes, meat is too. Meat, onions, and meat is very good, because a lot of times you get people who are vegetarian and vegan, and I know the vegan people get upset because they're like, what? But I was a vegetarian for 45 years, and I recently started eating meat. So, and I'm almost 60. So I just recently started eating meat because of my hair was kind of thinning. I was exhausted. I was getting tired. I was having some issues. And once I ate a steak, I actually feel better.
I have had the same experience. I was vegan for 2 years, and I was vegetarian for about 2 years on the outskirts of that. And yeah, I absolutely think that it contributed to some of my difficulties with recovering from the testosterone that I was taking.
Yes.
Once I stopped that testosterone, it's like it didn't just all become peachy again. Right. It was like my hormones were really struggling.
Right.
My body was really struggling. And once I started incorporating a more nutrient-dense, meat-based diet, that helped a lot of things. And yeah, it's really important because actually, a lot of people don't know this, but our hormones are made out of fat and cholesterol. So we get told like fat is bad, fat is gonna make you fat, you're gonna be overweight if you eat fat, you're gonna be overweight if you eat cholesterol, you're gonna get heart disease. But that's pretty outdated.
Yes, it is. Yes, and you need that. And I tell you,
especially women.
Yes, and I'm telling you, they do need it, and it does help. And it's made such a big difference for me because I tell you, the first thing I did notice when I started back eating meat was my hairline started to grow back in.
Right.
I had started getting hair around my hairline. Right. And I said, wow, I guess I really needed the amino acids from that meat and the iron.
And honestly, I've known you for a couple of years, and you even commented on like, wow, your hair is growing back so much. Your hair looks beautiful. What are you doing?
Yes.
I'm like, I'm literally eating steak and butter all the time.
Yes. And I have noticed a big difference in Helena's hair because it was, when she first started coming to me, it was thin.
You had to perform CPR on
yes,
my hair.
We did. Yes, it was an ICU.
It was.
Yes, it was. Yes. But another thing that would be good so far as kids is, foods that are high fiber foods are really good because that would help with the gut. So far as digestion, because that's really important, and just leafy greens and fruits. And again, just saying just more of a whole food from the standpoint of getting in your minerals and your vitamins and things like that. It's just a better way to go.
Absolutely.
Especially while you're transitioning back, because you want to take absolute care of yourself. You want to support your body. You want to support your body in the process because it's going to take a little bit of time. And anytime you put your body through what it views as an extreme, it's going to take time.
Yeah, that is such a good point. With all this healing that we have to do, some of us, I know for me, it wasn't just the year and a half of testosterone, but I had really honestly abused my body for years before that. And you can't just expect to reverse that in a couple months. It's a huge learning curve.
Yes.
You have to really learn what am I doing wrong and what can I do right? And it's just going to take time for the body to incorporate the things that you're learning.
Yes, absolutely. And you'll see the difference, like even with your skin. Yeah. Like your skin changed drastically as well because I noticed her hair changed, her skin, beautiful. And you can tell that your diet is completely different than it was like a few years ago.
Yeah. Oh my God. It is very, very different. I feel like a completely different person. Okay. Well, right. I wanted to touch a little bit on other hormonal disorders that women can experience. And I think that's important because I've noticed a lot of detransitioned women have other hormonal or reproductive diagnoses like PCOS or endometriosis. I like the two big ones. So I think that there's a lot going on there and why these things are so connected. So what would you say to women who are experiencing the hormonal issues? They've taken testosterone, they're trying to come back off, they're trying to rebalance their hormones, but they have this added wrench thrown in of having PCOS or endometriosis.
Yeah. When you're dealing with those type of things, it is really tough because not only do you have to work on balancing, you're trying to rebalance the hormones and trying to do what you need to do to help that. But again, with the diet and even dealing with you need a lot of support. so far as like diet, get monitoring with something that I do is RBTI. It's when you're working with pH. So so what I do is I work with upper pH and lower pH to kind of
Of the digestive
system to figure out what's going on with the body, how the body is processing its nutrients, and what nutrients are needed, and how, what type of proteins the body's putting out. So far as how the body's operating in like current time, that helps a lot in being able to assess what organs need to be supported. Also offer iridology, which also shows what various organs need to be supported within the body. And then stemming from that, then put together a diet or eating plan that will help, and also supplementation, because there's certain supplements along with the diet that you can take on that will help to balance you out,
like herbs
and things like that. And then the other thing is Bach flower essence. Bach flower essence is great because it helps emotionally. Because if you're feeling some kind of way emotionally, you could be eating great, you could be doing something, but if the mind is in a place where a darker place, it can affect your overall health and recovery. And so when you're dealing with, say, because sometimes what could be experienced with getting the PCOS and the endometriosis is that you're angry and you're like, I can't believe this. Why am I dealing with this? Or how did this even come about? Or even just saying, I experienced this and I was fine. Now I've got this. Now I've got more problems than I had currently. So it could create a little resentment and some anger. But if you can manage that anger, redirect that agitation and irritation and disappointment, manage that and redirect it into health and healing of yourself, then you can start to feel better, do better, and be better.
So true.
Yeah, because a lot of times when these things happen, you can support the body and work with a holistic healthcare practitioner, and they can help you to feel a lot better through your foundations and through using these various modalities, RBTI and iridology, just to see where things need to be supported, because they're usually used to kind of support maybe findings with RBTI, which has to do with, like I said, checking the upper digestion and the lower digestion through pH. The iridology kind of supports that maybe this group of organs need this type of support or that. But in addition to all of that, if you could just get somebody to work with you on those things, it really does help. They'll validate one another. And then that way, we as practitioners can be sure to confirm that this is really what's necessary and give you the appropriate supplementation. Because sometimes you may need, you might have to pull in a little bit of Chinese herbal medicine to use. You may need to do a little bit of acupuncture, do a little bit of that, because that can balance out some of the hormones in the body through the use of meridians. So that can help you to balance some things out too.
I've heard a lot of women say that.
Because people going through menopause and things like that. It really does help with like hot flashes and things like that, which is again an imbalance in hormone output. That creates these different symptoms. Doing the acupuncture does help, and it makes a difference as well. So that's one of the things that you can do to help balance that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, how about we get to some questions now?
Okay, sure.
I have some questions. We both have some questions here that folks have sent in for Jeannine. If you have some questions yourself, if you need clarification on anything, you can put them in the chat. Stella is going to be there prowling the chat and she will send me those questions so I can ask them to Jeannine. But while we wait on that, let me see which questions we have here. Okay, so one question says, do you know of anyone who has regenerated their hair from male pattern baldness to a normal female hairline, and how long did it take?
I want to say I've had clients come in and they have lost hair, not necessarily around the hairline per se, but back. So it just depends. So if they're talking about specifically around this way, and there's some loss there. If it's caught soon enough, that hair can grow back. If the client is actually bald and there's skin and there's no hair, and that's been like that for several years, then that shows that there's actual hair loss and that hair cannot be revitalized.
But can it be revitalized through the stem cells and the laser?
If hair loss is recent and there's still potential for the follicle to produce hair, yes.
Okay.
Yes, it can. So say for instance, somebody's dealing with hair loss because they've introduced too much testosterone, their hair starts thinning. And then they say, my hair is really thinning and look at this. And so they've got hair, little fine hairs there. And it's thinning, you can revitalize that hair.
Okay.
Because I have male clients who didn't hardly have a lot of hair and they sit under the laser and their hair grows. But does it get as thick as it used to be? No. But it does grow and it does stimulate additional hair growth.
I think something that needs to be said is that this is kind of uncharted territory. We don't have a lot of examples of treating hair loss for this specific issue of women who have taken exogenous testosterone. So really it's going to take women just seeing themselves as just a unique situation. You can't really like copy and paste another situation directly onto yours, and just trying things out, either seeing practitioners or doing your own research and trying things and seeing if you can make it better. Because I do think that there can be improvement made, but it's just really hard to know because it's such a new phenomenon. Yeah, and the other thing is that
because of the additional testosterone, something that I could suggest is, now they do have DHT inhibitors, but that are natural, and they're natural from the standpoint of they're not out of the, you can get these from like a trichologist, or you can order them online, or you can get them from a holistic healthcare practitioner. They do have DHT inhibitors that are natural, or that are made from various combinations of supplements. Like they may have a combination that's got like saw palmetto and a couple of other different things that you can take that'll help to block DHT. It has to be taken on a time, like either every 12 hours, once every 4 hours. It just depends on what the instructions are. But those are some different combinations that you can try. They've got some other ones out there that have maybe like a marine byproduct in it, like shark fin, and also a shell that are DHT inhibitors that can help to grow hair.
Okay, but would that be for people who are still have elevated testosterone levels? Okay, so that would apply to someone who is still taking testosterone, or someone who maybe has PCOS.
Yes,
with elevated testosterone. Okay, but for someone who has their testosterone back into a normal female range, would you still recommend that, or would that be unnecessary?
No, I would recommend that they take supplementation that is that more so supports their follicle and their health, like iron, D, vitamin D, 3K, and then also look at their mineral.
Right.
Look at what they're. Because then I would suggest certain minerals and things like that.
So for someone who has already stopped the testosterone, their body is off of it, then it's more of these dietary interventions.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So here's a fun one. Someone says, for a few years, I've been interested in non-conventional methods. These are controversial for most people. For example, healing with energy or strong belief or stem cell regeneration or self-healing. Do you have any experience with that? We talked about the stem cells.
Yes.
What about the energy stuff?
Well, you and I were talking a little bit ago, and so there is what's known as right frequency, and that frequency. What that frequency does is everything is under the is what it is that it is. I'm trying to think of how I can say this, but because if you don't understand energy medicine, then you're like, what?
Yeah.
But what it is that every single thing has its own frequency. And when you introduce the same frequency to it, if you're having hair loss and you're introducing the frequency of that frequency to it, it cancels out the hair loss and will encourage hair growth. So right frequency is a really good thing to use. I've used it for my hair. I've used it for my skin. And also I've used it when I started to feel bad. Like if I feel like I'm trying to catch a little cold or something like that, or get a sinus issue, I listen to the right frequency for sinus. And I tell you, it works. It works really well. And I believe in that because
it might sound crazy to people, but an example that has been proven of this working is cats purring.
yes,
Actually, when they purr, they emit a specific frequency, and it's been shown that when they are injured, their purring actually helps their tissue to
regenerate.
Yeah.
Isn't that something?
Yes.
I tell you, it's amazing. I love it.
It's not, I don't think it's totally to be thrown out. Definitely
Yes.
look into it if that's something you're interested in.
Yes.
And with, things being unconventional or whatever, we've seen what the conventional standards of care do to people.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
Don't feel bad about thinking outside the box.
Right. And the other thing too is, biophysics. I mean, people have been using biophysics, various modalities within biophysics to do a lot of things.
Yeah.
I mean, people, when people are in space, they work with people in space using physics
Interesting.
from down here. And so they run what you would call a program. And if they're feeling some kind of way up there, then it helps them to feel better. But they run in the program here.
Go to space.
Yes.
Your healing advice.
Right.
Let's see. Okay, someone asks about herbs. Can you tell us about some specific herbs that women use for hair loss?
Well, believe it or not, there's clove. Clove helps stimulate the follicle. And so you can use clove. Another thing that's really nice to use that will help stimulate blood flow to the follicle is, and they've done some tests, it works almost as well as using like a minoxidil, is oh my goodness, I had it and then it went away from me, is rosemary. Rosemary. Yes, rosemary is one that's really good. Rosemary is a stimulant. It'll stimulate the follicle and bring blood flow. Also, a lot of times people don't think about keeping the pH balanced on the scalp. And so when the pH is balanced on the scalp, it also helps with hair growth. And so something that does that is using lavender. So lavender helps with the pH balance, keeps scalp clean, keeps bacteria down. Another thing that's really good too is saw palmetto, of course. And then there's let's say, because there's a few things. Shinmen, that is a Chinese herb. That's really nice that people don't realize that they can use also.
There's also, I took for a while when I was first getting off testosterone, Vitex.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, someone told me about that.
I'm not familiar with the Vitex.
I didn't take it like religiously or anything, but people have said that that's very helpful.
I'm going to investigate that. That sounds interesting.
Oh man, there's a woman who's very influential to me who talks about herbs and hormonal rebalancing. She goes on Twitter by Learn Body Literacy, something like that, where people can check out. Yeah, she talks about like rebalancing hormones. Okay. So, you mentioned the minoxidil. That's a question that I had for you. So I've seen that women who are going through this hair loss, they get told either by, strangers or family and friends or even their doctor that they should be taking minoxidil or finasteride. What would you say about that?
Well, those products work, but the thing for men, and you know what, and they work for some women. But the thing is that when you're using that product, you don't get to keep the gains after you stop taking that product. So what will happen is you'll take the product and you'll take it for a while, but then the minute you stop taking it, then you start losing hair again. So it's not permanent. You don't have permanent. You don't regain the hair permanently. You start to lose the hair again. So it's something that you have to keep on using as an ongoing thing. Yeah. So if you can get something that's more natural in nature, that'll help you keep the gains, I think it will be better. They're coming out with a lot of products these days that really make a big difference in regaining hair and growing hair, where if you stop taking it, you don't lose the hair. You can keep up to 97% of your gains, which is great. Yeah. I carry a product like that. In fact, I love it. The product is called Virtue. Okay. So that product is really nice. They've got it where they do sell that product where it has the minoxidil, but they're talking about not even keeping a minoxidil product because their product that is the natural product works so well. That product has a human keratin in it. Yeah. So it has a human keratin. It's based it has human keratin versus using something like a minoxidil or something like that that's synthetic in nature.
And they're also hormonal.
They're hormonal. Right, they're hormonal. Yeah. And so this one, no hormones, all natural. Yeah. So I like it. I also use another product that's really good. That topicals are all natural, and the Capilla line is really good. That's out of Canada. Some people here in the United States sells it, but I like those products as well. And I think they work great in conjunction with the different services that you can get with that.
Okay.
It's all natural.
Okay. Yeah. So, okay, great. So definitely if you are recommended to take minoxidil or finasteride, do your research. Right. And think about it first.
And be mindful, because the thing is, you already are being challenged from hormonally anyway. So it's what can we do to kind of
adding another hormone?
Right. Exactly.
Might not be completely safe. Okay. So we've talked a lot about the nutrition, the hormones, but in terms of services, if someone wants to find a trichologist, try some services. We've talked about the stem cells. We talked about laser. We talked about these products that you just mentioned. Is there anything else that is in the trichology world that works for baldness or hair loss that you would recommend people try?
Well, you can there's various treatments that you can get, but I say work with a trichologist, because what the trichologist is going to do is they're going to teach you how to manage your hair and your scalp from a science standpoint, and they usually will incorporate diet. Yeah. So they're going to talk to you about diet. They're going to talk to you about like what do you do daily. They're going to talk to you about stress management. So they're going to talk to you about all these things. So they would be best to start with, especially if it's obvious. The type of hair loss, like if you got thinning and you got different things going on. Some people will go to the dermatologist first, but then the dermatologist is like, well, you got this. And then they give you whatever.
And then prescribe you.
Right. Then the client is upset because they messed around for about a month or two and they still are losing hair. Yeah. And then there's other things that you can do meantime, because a lot of times somebody will tell you, well, just wear a wig, just do this, just do that. But at least if you're working with a trichologist, if they do recommend some type of hair prosthesis for you, they at least will be working with you on regaining that hair underneath there and be giving you appropriate advice on how to wear the hair prosthesis and when to wear it, because it's not something you want to wear all the time,
Yeah.
And and what you get from a trichologist as far as hair prosthesis is going to be better quality, and it's not going to harbor all the bacteria that some of these other wigs and hair pieces do. That's being sold in the little hair. One of those places. Yeah.
Okay. Good stuff. Someone else asks about is massage or any other form of physical stimulation effective for hair loss? And maybe that would include like microneedling.
Yes, microneedling. Yeah, microneedling does help stimulate. It will stimulate hair growth. Also, massage will help stimulate hair growth, just because if you flip your head kind of upside down and you're massaging your scalp, it brings blood flow to the follicle, because the follicle needs that blood in order to keep it healthy. So it does help. So that would help. But if there's actual hair loss, you want to do these things before it's more proactive things that you would want to do. So these are proactive things that you would do. So it will help. So it will make a difference in how healthy your hair looks. Just like back when they told you to brush your hair 100 times with that warrior brush to get it shiny and get it healthy and things like that. So that does make a difference. And when you're doing brush therapy, it does stimulate the scalp.
Fascinating.
Yeah, it's really nice. It feels great.
But another thing to consider is the blood flow is important, but what is the blood carrying?
Yes.
The blood is carrying nutrients.
That's right. Exactly.
So eating the nutrients.
That's right. Eating the nutrients so it gets to the hair. Because one thing people don't realize is that hair is a bonus. It's a bonus.
Right.
And so and the hair is the last to get the nutrients. So if you don't have a heavily nutrient dense diet, then the hair is going to show in the hair and the skin and the nails.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have weak nails and you're going to have ridges in the nails. So that's something that you can also look for, because you can look at your fingernails and you can see whether your body is deficient in nutrients and minerals, because you'll have ridges going up your nails.
Mm-hmm.
And then your skin will start to look a certain way, or you'll have in different areas of the face, you'll notice acne and different things like that. Because when you look at the facial map for health, different parts of the face represent different parts of the body. And so if you see things in various areas, like under here, you got a lot of darkness under here, the kidneys need some help.
Right.
People don't realize that, but your body tells you every day, all the time, what it needs. And
so like paying attention to those symptoms, like if you have, for example, acne, kind of like the hair loss, it's not just a cosmetic thing. It's actually your body telling you
something.
I'm inflamed.
Yes, exactly.
I need help.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Someone asks, does shaving the areas with baby hair speed up the growth of thicker hair?
Well, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And that's, because people will cut their baby's hair off to get it to grow better. People have these different rituals with cutting the hair or not cutting the hair, but that doesn't make much of a difference. If you cut the hair down, it won't make the hair grow any thicker. You maybe feel like the hair is growing out a little thicker because everything's growing all at the same time, or everything's close, so it gives an illusion.
Because you're cutting off the tip of the hair.
Yes. But it doesn't. That does not make a difference. It will give you the opportunity to maybe treat all of the scalp and treat all of the hair to better treat that hair, because if the hair is a little shorter, it's a little bit easier to treat if you're going to be applying any type of natural topicals or chemical topicals to the hair, so that you can get to it. Or even if you're going to be rollering and doing some different things like that, it's gonna make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
So cutting it down will help from the standpoint of application of a type of service, or
but it's not going to like enhance.
It's not going to enhance the growth.
Okay, cool. All right, got some more questions. If someone is considering, if there's a woman a biological female who has not yet taken testosterone, but is considering taking testosterone, what are the risks for hair growth? How should they be looking at the possibility for hair loss? Is it likely?
Oh, it potentially could be likely, dependent on because of the imbalance. There's going to be some things that's going to occur. I feel like for women, it's a little bit more because of the estrogen levels. It's a little hard. Once you start throwing that estrogen off, it's difficult, and you can't really know what can take place.
Right.
But I feel like more likely than not, the introduction of the enhanced testosterone is going to create some thinning, some hair loss of some sort.
And then for people who are maybe genetically predisposed, they might see more dramatic.
Yeah, they'll see it. It'll be more dramatic, and they're going to see it faster.
Yeah. So
it's going to accelerate it.
Yeah. So something to consider that if you have not yet begun testosterone, that it will probably result in some thinning, and that's not just a cosmetic issue; it's actually a health issue.
It is. It's a health issue, and it's and if you're okay with that, then you can say, well, okay, I'm willing to take the risk of not only just losing hair, but also having some other things that's going to go on, because you're also going to have to deal with potential thyroid issues, right, or just pancreas issues as far as the way it operates in releasing the insulin. Throughout the whole body.
The weight gain.
The weight gain, and all that, because that is crazy.
Yeah,
it is. Because then because at the end of the day, what people don't realize is that you start looking at heart problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's true. I think women who take testosterone are twice as likely as men to have heart problems, and 4 times as likely as other women.
Yes.
To have heart problems. And it's the insulin issues and all kinds of stuff. Okay. So someone says, hi, thank you for this seminar. I was on testosterone for 2.8 years. I came off 2 months ago cold turkey. I've really wanted to come off since spring. The stress of detransition led to a mental health breakdown. I'm sure the hormonal changes have played a big part. I've experienced what seems like accelerated hair loss around my temples and hairline. Mm-hmm. Also, my hair seems lankier, thinner, more greasy. Mm-hmm. I've also lost lots of weight, having constant chocolate cravings, and my skin seems sallow. Sleep is pretty elusive at the moment, too. I would really love to hear your advice as to how to take care of myself in this time. Okay. Well, my goodness. I am extending all that I'm extending health and wellness to you right now. And I'm sorry to hear that you've been troubled with all these different things. But what I would suggest is that to help with the hormones is maybe looking into you have a couple of different hormones that help with estrogen, like Don Quai and herbs. Don Quai, and then there's also the wild yam. That could help. It's natural, and then also with the hair loss that you're experiencing from around the hairline and things like that. I would say that I would look into talking to someone about maybe getting you under a laser to kind of get that hair growing back. I would do that right away. Yeah. I wouldn't put that off, so you can get that hair growing back. And then the oiliness is stemming from the DHT and being in that stage of hair loss. So the one thing you can do is once you get that scalp under control,
that would make a difference also. There's a shampoo that's really good. It's by Capilla. They have like an anti-residue shampoo, which is really, really good. It'll help to remove all the sebum from the inside within the follicle that's resting within inside the follicle, the excess sebum. Also, they have an oily scalp shampoo that is amazing. And that particular type of shampoo will also pull some of the oil up off of there, which will actually make your hair look a little bit fuller, and you'll be able to really see what's going on with that hair. Mm-hmm. So that particular brand has a really good shampoo, a really good topical for oiliness to get that under control. Mm-hmm. And then so far as not being able to get rest, that could be your adrenal. And dealing with adrenal. And so if you're exhausted and even dealing with some of the mental things, that also could have come along dealing with adrenal glands and things like that, because you get into a fight or flight mode and you're stressed and then it creates anxiety, and also diet. So I don't know what your diet is like, but I don't know if you're taking a really good enzyme, a really good probiotic. I don't know if you're, but those are two things that you're going to need to start on. And then I would go to a holistic healthcare practitioner because they'll be able, that person and an endocrinologist. Some of the endocrinologists work with holistic healthcare practitioners. But I would go to a holistic healthcare practitioner so that they can look at your digestion and see what's going on with you. Because if you're running around tired and you've got cravings for chocolate, because chocolate has caffeine, and you may be craving the chocolate not necessarily for the health benefits, but more so for the caffeine and the sugar, which is not going to be beneficial. Especially if you're craving it all the time. And sugar is a stimulant, and caffeine is a stimulant. So like I said, again, adrenal, because when you have adrenal fatigue, it makes you exhausted.
Right.
It makes you tired.
Right. If I can give just my personal experience, having felt this way when I was coming off of testosterone, what really helped me was, the diet. And I would encourage you to do some research into a low carb approach. Mm-hmm. What was so helpful for me was lower carb, not necessarily going all the way to like keto or something, but like lower carb, and getting lots of meat and high fat.
Yes.
For me was like so helpful. Just really like turned me around.
Yes.
But
definitely the adrenal thing. You might want to. I feel like people don't and thyroid, because a lot of times what's making you so tired and so exhausted and just feeling just overwhelmed, and the whole and the mind thing, adrenal.
Yeah, mm-hmm. Absolutely. Okay. Someone would like to know if she has hairs around the hairline and temples that have not fallen out, but they've become thin. Can those become thicker again?
Yes.
Okay.
Definitely can be improved.
Yeah. With all the things.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. What are your views on hair transplants?
Well, hair transplant for women, unless they come up with some really, really good, I'm not a big fan of hair transplants. I know there's a lot of people out there who she thinks she is, but I'm not a big fan of hair transplants, just because I feel like hair transplants, especially for women, don't really, most women aren't candidates for that. Mm-hmm. And even when men get them, eventually over a period of time, the man loses their hair. So I feel like that it's a service, it's a temporary service. So a person gets that service, they have hair temporarily, and then after a while, then it's gone. And all the things that you have to do to maintain hair transplantation is the same thing that you would do if you were being proactive. So that's the reason why I'm not the biggest fan of that. I feel like that I feel like diet makes a big difference in hair, and because a lot of times hair is falling out either because of inflammation or there's an issue with the lymphatic system, or so. Diet, I feel like, makes a big difference.
And nutrient deficiency.
B12. Yes.
That B12 will mess you up.
Yes, it will.
And that is only found in animal products. You can take plant-based supplements, but your body doesn't absorb them at the right rate. Right. So it's not really, it's kind of a waste of money. So B12, that's so important.
Yes.
Iron also. That's another thing.
Yes, iron is.
There's iron in plants, but it's ferric iron, not heme iron, so it's absorbed again at a lower rate. So like these nutrients, I feel like when you have a deficiency, that's when your hair starts to fall.
It does, and you can see it. I mean, in the nails, the skin, everything, and that is our first warning system: is our hair, skin, and nails. But I tell people if that's something that they want to do, you can spend the money to do that, but it's still temporary.
Right.
It's temporary. It doesn't.
And like you mentioned with women who have the actual follicles thinning.
Yes.
It's hard to do the transplant.
Yes, it is.
All right. Well, I think that's the end of our questions today.
Wow.
Yeah. Is there anything else on your mind that you wanted to share with people? Or maybe we can wait if someone wants to send in some last minute questions. They can go ahead and do that. But
no, well, what I'd like to say is that, if you're taking the time to transition back, always, just think about put health first and take care of yourself and be easy on yourself because it takes time for everything. And we're souls having a human experience, and we're experiencing different things, we're trying different things, and we just have to be patient with ourselves, and you need to be patient with yourself and be patient with your health. Don't rush through it. Do everything you can to take care of yourself.
It's a long-term process.
Yes, it is.
I know it's so easy to become preoccupied with the cosmetic things. Like, I want to fix this hair loss now. Like, I want to fix it in 2 months.
Right.
Or another common one for women is like, I want to lose weight in 2 months.
2 weeks.
Or 2 weeks. But that, as so many of us have experienced, leads to more problems down the road.
Yes,
and
it does.
It's much better to just be like, okay, I'm going to be imperfect forever, but how can I incorporate better habits and better mindsets into my life?
Exactly.
Long term.
Yes.
Okay, someone actually had a question for me. They said, Helena, could you share your experience in terms of hair off of tea? Why did you have any changes while on tea, and how has that changed since coming off? Well, for me, I definitely had just like weak, kind of like limp hair. I feel like my hair now it's shiny.
Yes,
it feels like sturdy.
Yes.
In the past, it was just like
it was.
Yeah.
Her hair, man.
And also, it was completely fried because I was bleaching it all the time. So that's also, maybe don't bleach your hair every other month. Because that's what I did. But I'm not sure how much of it was the testosterone for me, because I was also vegan and I was also calorie restricting.
Yes.
And so those two things resulted in, I think, just a storm of problems for my health. So I can say that since, stopping the testosterone, I didn't change a lot of my lifestyle habits. And when I didn't change those habits, I continued to have kind of crappy hair and crappy skin, and crappy health, crappy periods, everything.
Yeah.
But once I changed my diet quite radically, that's when I've noticed the improvements in every facet of my health. So yeah, that would be my answer to that. Okay. Well,
this has been great. I am looking forward to doing another one of these.
I know.
I love it. I think it's great, and I look forward to this. This is something that I'm learning about. Helena and I, we would talk all the time and talk about different things, and talk about hair, and talk about her deep transitioning, and I found it fascinating.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, wow, this is something. And so even doing the research for the, because we didn't get all into the science of it. I'm a sciencey person. We didn't get it, even though we've had this discussion, and I haven't gotten, but getting into even the science of it is pretty interesting. And I'm just glad I had the opportunity to be able to sit and have this discussion.
Thank you so much for offering your expertise. And if people are still curious, maybe we can do more events, or we can do something together, not necessarily with Genspect.
Yeah, right.
Sure.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, because I think you have a lot of wisdom to offer, and I
Thank you.
very much appreciate your perspective.
Thank you. That was fascinating. That was really, really good. Really, really interesting. And I look forward to many more kind of webinars like this, just to help people. Yeah. Thanks very much, everyone.